Good morning, I'm Dan Yarrow. I'm Team Cone's CDL instructor. I'm going to demonstrate how to perform a pre-trip inspection for the CDL test. All right, I'm going to enter the vehicle with 3 points of contact for safe entry. I'm going to make sure my seatbelt latches and retracts. It's bolted securely to the floorboard and at the top. It's not cut, frayed, or dry rotted or damaged in any way. All right, I want to check my floorboard. I want to make sure that it is clean and free of any obstructions. That way nothing can get caught up underneath my pedals that will prevent me from controlling my truck. I'll also make sure my accelerator is not sticking. The fire extinguisher needs to be properly mounted, fully charged into green, properly rated, and in date. Underneath my seat here, I have 3 DOT approved reflective triangles and know how to set them up accordingly. And right here, I've got spare fuses. In order to perform a safe start, I got to put the key on the auxiliary position, make sure the truck is in neutral and the brakes are applied. Then start the truck. When I start the truck, I want to watch the ABS light come on and off, and it must stay off. I'm also going to be listening for the governor cutout, which on most trucks is between 120 and 140. So I got to build all the way to governor cutout in order to start my brakes test. So I usually give it a little bit of fuel, about 1200 RPMs. And watch the needle building pressure. It's actually still at governor cutout. So I'm going to start with the parking brake test. I'm going to release the trailer brakes, put it in drive, and attempt to pull forward. I'm going to give it fuel. The parking brakes held, which means they're properly adjusted and working. Put it in neutral, apply the trailer brakes, and release the parking brakes. Now we're testing the trailer brakes. Put it in drive. Make sure it's not flashing. Attempt to pull forward. The trailer brakes held, which means they are properly adjusted and working. Go back to neutral. Release the trailer brakes. And once again, we got to build the governor cutout. We're now going to test the service brakes. In order to test the service brakes, we're going to pull forward at 5 miles per hour. We're going to lightly hold the wheel, and then we're going to firmly press the brakes. And the truck should not pull to the left or right, and it should come to a complete stop. Again, I got to build the governor cutout. There it is. Now I'm going to pull forward to 5 miles per hour. Firmly press the brakes. The truck did not pull to the left or right and came to a complete stop, which means the service brakes are working properly. To perform a lab test, I have to first build up the governor cutout. All right, there's governor cutout. Want to make sure that our window's down. Brakes are still released. I'm going to shut the truck off. Put it on the auxiliary position. Shut off any noisemakers. Open stopwatch. All right, I'm going to apply steady pressure to the brake. Let the pressure stabilize and then start my timer. I want to make sure that I do not lose more than 4 psi with the tractor and trailer combination per minute while listening for leaks. And both of my gauges are at 120 psi. Again, I want to make sure that I do not lose more than 4 psi with the tractor and trailer combination per minute while listening for leaks. And make sure that you wait the full minute. If you do not, it's considered an automatic failure.
Okay, a minute has gone by, neither gauge has moved, which means there are no leaks in the entire braking system. Now I want to make sure that my alarms come on at no less than 55 psi, which include a light and a buzzer. So I will fan the brakes to lose pressure. Okay, my alarms came on before 55 psi, which means the alarms are working properly. Now, I want to make sure that my tractor protection valve and my parking valve pop out between 20 and 45 psi. I will continue to fan the brakes to lose pressure. Okay, both valves popped out. My primary gauge is at 26 psi and my secondary gauge is at 30 psi, which is within the proper range, which means that the valves are working properly.
So now I'm going to check the left indicator light, the right indicator light, my four-way flasher indicator lights. I'm going to turn the headlights on in order to test the high beam indicator light. Right there, they are all working properly. Right here, I'm going to press this yellow button and hold it. Make sure that my windshield washer fluid is working. Also that my windshield wiper blades have their proper tension. They're not stiff, dry rotted or missing, and they're working properly. I'll check the windshield, the side windows, the mirrors, and the back glass. Make sure that they're all secure and that all the seals are intact. They are not cut, frayed, dry rotted, or leaking. Make sure that all the glass has no chips or cracks or any illegal stickers that would obstruct my view, and they are all clean and visible, and that the mirrors are properly adjusted to me. Make sure that the service horn is working properly and the air horn is also working properly. Now we're going to check the heating, so we want to make sure that we put it to 4, to face, and to heat, and make sure that the heater is working properly. I already feel it blowing hot, which means the heater is working properly. Then I'm going to switch to check the defrost, put it to here, reach over and make sure that you feel it switch over to defrost, and that takes about 8 to 10 seconds. All right, I feel it's blowing air, which means that the defroster is working properly. And this completes my in-cab inspection.
Direct the tester to assist you in checking the lights on the outside of the truck, starting with the clearance lights, the headlights, the high beams, the turn signals, the four-way flashers, and all of the marker lights. Then you'll have him go to the back of the trailer and you're going to ask him to check your clearance lights, your tail lights, your brake lights, your turn signals and four-way flashers, and your tag light before you go on your road trip. So as I approach the vehicle, I'm going to be looking and listening for leaks such as oil, transmission fluid, fuel, coolant, power steering fluid, or even air leaks. I also want to check for that the truck is not leaning to one side or the other, which would indicate a flat tire, a problem with the suspension, or an uneven load.
Make sure the headlight assemblies are mounted securely. They're not cracked, damaged, or missing. They're clean. The headlights and the high beams work properly. I also want to check these lights right here. They have 3 functions. They're turn signals, four-way flashers, and marker lights. And I also want to check those clearance lights up top, all the exact same way. They have to be mounted securely. They cannot be cracked, damaged, or missing. Clean and working properly. And amber in color. I'll pop the hood open. My reservoirs, all the same way, starting with the coolant reservoir, the windshield washer fluid reservoir, and on the other side, I have the power steering fluid reservoir. I want to make sure that they are all mounted securely with no loose, broken, or missing bolts. They are not cracked, damaged, or leaking. The caps are also secure and tight and also not leaking. Their hoses are secure at both ends. They're not cut, frayed, or dry rotted, and not leaking. I need to get a reading. So here's my minimum line and here's my maximum line, and I'm currently full on the coolant. Right here, I'm about 1/3 full on the windshield washer fluid, and it's clear and translucent. I'll continue with the fluid levels. On the power steering, here's my minimum line, here's my maximum line, and it's currently full. I'm going to check the dipstick on the transmission with the truck running and on the oil with the truck off. In order to properly check these, I'm going to pull the dipsticks all the way out, wipe them clean, stick them all the way back in, pull them back out, and make sure that they are within the proper range. And then I'm going to put them back in place and secure them so that they don't pop out while driving on the road. Starting with the steering system, I want to start with the steering column and the knuckles. Make sure that they're mounted securely with no loose, broken, or missing bolts. And all the C-clips are secure and in place. They are not bent, cracked, or damaged, and there's no play in it. Then the power steering gearbox, make sure it's mounted securely with no loose, broken, or missing bolts. It's not cracked, damaged, or leaking, and it's working properly. The hoses, make sure that they're secure at both ends. They're not cut, frayed, dry rotted, or leaking. Right here I have a pitman arm, drag link, steering arm. Down here I have the tie rod end and the knuckles. Make sure that they are all mounted securely with no loose, broken, or missing bolts. And all of the castle nuts and cotter pins are secure and in place. None of these components are bent, cracked, or damaged, and have no repair welds. Also, the bushings are not worn, torn, or missing, and are properly greased. Now we're checking the suspension. I'm going to start with the front and then the rear leaf spring mounts and the shackle. Make sure that they are mounted securely with no loose, broken, or missing bolts. They are not bent, cracked, or damaged and have any repair welds. Now we're going to check the leaf springs. They're secure at both ends with no loose, broken, or missing bolts. They're not bent, cracked, or damaged, also not shifting, separating, or missing. Right here are my U-bolts. Make sure they're secure around the axle. They are not loose, broken, or missing, or shifting. They secure the axle. It is not bent, cracked, or damaged, and has no repair welds. And then lastly, I'm going to check the shock absorber and its top and bottom mounting brackets. They are mounted securely with no loose, broken, or missing bolts. They are not bent, cracked, or damaged with no repair welds. The shock absorber itself is not leaking. I've also got rubber bushings, top and bottom. They are not worn, torn, or missing, and these do not get greased. All right, starting with the brake system, the airline must be secure at both ends. It cannot be cut, frayed, or dry rotted, or leaking any air. I also want to check for contaminants between the brake drum and the brake shoes, such as oil, grease, or debris that'll prevent them from working. Now the tires have to be the same size and type tire and wearing evenly. They also have to be virgin tires, which means they cannot be retreaded or regrooved. I'm going to check their overall condition and check for conditions like bulges, cuts, gouges, no dry rotting of the tire, and no steel cords exposed. There cannot be any foreign objects anywhere in the tire like nails, bolts, or screws that will cause the tire to go flat, and especially no air leaks anywhere in the tire. There should be at least 4/32 of an inch of tread depth left to the tire, and I will check that with a tire tread gauge. And I want to have at least 110 psi cold, and I check it here at the valve stem with an air pressure gauge. Now I'll check the rim. I want to check the inside and the outside of the rim, make sure it is not out of round, it is not bent, cracked, or damaged, it has no repair welds, and it's not leaking any air. I also want to check all the lug nuts and studs, make sure that they are all mounted securely. None of them are loose, broken, or missing. There are no rust trails around the rim. There are no shiny threads on the stud that would indicate a loose lug. I also don't want it distorted right here at the rim, distorted or wallowed out. Starting with the mirror support, the mirror housing, and the mirror itself, make sure that they're mounted securely with no loose, broken, or missing bolts. They are not bent, cracked, or damaged. There's no play in it. And also the mirror itself is clean, and there are no illegal stickers that would obstruct my view. The fuel tank and the DEF tank are mounted securely with no loose, broken, or missing bolts. They are not, also the straps themselves and the mounting bracket are not loose, broken, or missing. The tanks are not ruptured, cracked, or damaged, and not leaking. Caps are secure tight, also not leaking. I have to have a seal inside this cap and a metal chain that secures it also. There should be at least 1/8 of a tank remaining on the DEF tank. Check the batteries. I want to make sure they're mounted securely with no loose, broken, or missing bolts. I want to go ahead and pop this lid. I want to make sure that the terminals are mounted securely. They're not loose. They're also not corroded
I want to make sure that the wires have no cut, burnt, or exposed wires or missing insulation that could cause a short or a fire. I also want to make sure the batteries themselves are not damaged and are not leaking any acid. And then I want to make sure that I secure this.
Check the frame and cross members, make sure that they're mounted securely with no loose, broken, or missing bolts. They are not bent, cracked, or damaged, and also that there's no aftermarket holes drilled into the frame, no cuts in the frame, or repair welds that would weaken the structure and void the warranty. Right here, I have reflectors that run a foot at each corner. They are mounted securely, they're not cracked, damaged, or missing, and they are clean and visible. Starting with the coupling device, I'm going to start with the service and emergency air lines. I want to make sure that they are secure at both ends. They are not cut, frayed, or dry rotted and not leaking any air. I also want to make sure that they're not faded, which would make them very brittle. The glad hands must be mounted securely. They cannot be bent, cracked, or damaged and not leaking any air. And in here I've got rubber seals. I want to make sure that they're not worn, torn, or missing, and also not leaking any air. On the pigtail, I want to make sure it's secure at both ends, right here and here, with these spring-loaded flaps. Make sure that there are no cut, burnt, or exposed wires, no missing insulation that can cause a short or a fire. I'm going to check this hanging device, make sure it's holding my lines up in the air just right, because I don't want them hanging too low, which would cause premature wear, and they can get caught up on bolts and get snatched off, or the drive shaft. And I also want to make sure that they're not too taut, because they can also get snatched off while I'm making tight maneuvers. So now I'm going to check my release lever right here. I want to make sure it's all the way in and in the locked position. It is not bent, cracked, or damaged, and if equipped with a safety latch, it is secure and in place. I also want to look underneath here on the fifth wheel. I want to make sure all my hardware is all mounted securely. Then I got to go underneath the truck. Now we're going to check the locking jaw. We want to make sure that it's that right there. We want to make sure it's wrapped secure around the kingpin. It is not bent, cracked, or damaged, and has no repair welds. Behind it is the kingpin. It's secured to the trailer. It is also not bent, cracked, or damaged, not wearing dangerously thin, and it's properly greased. Now we're going to check the apron, make sure that it's mounted securely with no loose, broken, or missing bolts. It also has no cracked or broken welds. It cannot be bent, cracked, or damaged, and have any repair welds. We're going to check the fifth wheel the exact same way, but we also want to make sure that it's properly greased and there's no gap or light between the fifth wheel and the apron. Right here's my pivot pin, my retaining plate, and bolts. Make sure that they're mounted securely with no loose, broken, or missing bolts. They are not bent, cracked, or damaged, or missing. And right here I got my platform assembly. Make sure it's mounted securely with no loose, broken, or missing bolts. It also has right here no cracked or broken welds. It is not bent, cracked, or damaged, and has any repair welds. Now we're going to check for adequate spacing. Make sure that it's adequate spacing from here to here, here to here, from here to here, and from here to there. These two red lights have 4 functions. They're turn signals, 4-way flashers, brake lights, and tail lights. I'm also going to check the reverse light and the tag light that are white or clear. These are all mounted securely. They're not cracked, damaged, or missing. They're clean, and they're all working properly. So now starting with the trailer, we're going to start with the clearance lights on the top and on the sides of the trailer. They're mounted securely. They're not cracked, damaged, or missing. They're amber in color. They're clean, and they're working properly. My locking handle here is mounted securely with no loose, broken, or missing bolts. It is not bent, cracked, or damaged. It's also closing in the locked position, securing all of my bays so that I don't lose any part of my load. I also want to make sure none of them are damaged. Over here on my DOT reflective tape, I want to make sure that it runs at least 50% the length of the trailer. They're mounted securely. They're not peeling, damaged, or faded, and they are all clean and visible. Over here, if equipped with an ABS light, if it came on and it stayed on, I would get the ABS system serviced. This red marker light, I'm going to check it like I check my other lights. On the back of my trailer, I have 5 different functions on my lights. I have clearance lights, tail lights and brake lights, turn signals and 4-way flashers. They are all mounted securely. None of them are cracked, damaged, or missing. They're clean, they're red in color, and they're all working properly. And then I have a tag light right here that's white or clear. I check it like I check my other lights. DOT reflective tape means you run at least 12 inches at each corner at the top and 100% the length at the bottom. They are all mounted securely. They're not peeling, damaged, or faded, and they are clean and visible. Over here with my landing gear, if equipped with the crank, it must be secure and latched so it's not flopping in the wind. The landing gear has to be fully operational. It must go all the way up and all the way down, and it is currently all the way up. It needs to be mounted securely with no loose, broken, or missing bolts. It cannot be bent, cracked, or damaged and have any repair welds. And then lastly, I want to make sure my feet are secure in place. They're not bent, cracked, or damaged, or missing because they help distribute the weight of the trailer. They must be there. And this concludes my pre-trip inspection.